Morning, everyone. Morning. How we doing? Let's get right into the live here. Let me get all the other alerts set out. Make sure everything's posted everywhere. Good morning, Waldive. How you doing? What's going on, Joe? How you doing? Yep, I can hear you. Have you been sitting here waiting to get into a trade all morning? Eager. Good. All right. Wait for everyone to get in here, and then we'll get. What's going on, Rebo? How you doing? Get right into what we're covering for today. Unfortunately, we don't have any news. No scheduled news for Tuesday, January 20th. So nothing that we're going to be taking a look at in terms of volatility. Get that sent out. Doors closed, all set. All right. What are the stats for the gap fill? We will not be filling that gap today, unfortunately. We might, but it's like a less than 10% chance. And this is also, with a gap fill by size today, this is also way over. Like you see all these brackets, they usually go by 0.2, fourth one or fifth one's 0.5, and then the last one's over 1.5 because of how rare they happen. If we pull this up, I think SPY's gap down, 1.5% in that as well. So both of the odds for these, we've never, well, I can't say never. I'll go to the past 3 years. Once it loads, so I think over the past 6 months, we haven't had a gap of this size get filled. We've only had maybe 2 or 3 gaps this large to the downside. The good news is we do have a previous day in London gap. Even though it is over a holiday, I haven't measured those ones yet. So this gap right here, the gap between previous day's high or previous day's low and London high, that one has like a 92% chance of getting filled. And that's not a stat on edgeful, that's my own finding. They pop up very rarely, but when they do pop up, we almost always fill them. And what I found is it's not necessarily filled on the day that it's formed, but it is a pretty significant draw for the week. Excuse me. All right, so over the past 3 years, a gap of 1.5% or more to the downside only has filled 6% of the time. And here's the overall measure for that. So we've had 31 of these gaps, only 2 of them have filled. So probably not looking for this to fill to the upside. Now, what we can look for is just a move to London high. That's a little under half the gap, 615.19. Move to that would kind of validate the previous day in London gap. Not entirely, though. We need to fill the entire thing all the way up to 618.94. So Friday's low into today's pre-market high. Only issue for today is we don't have any news scheduled, so there's no volatility. There's no reason for us to make an unexpected move to that level. The VIX is back at 20, which is good. That means that we do have potential to get moving up to that level, but it's not entirely significant that we have a draw up to 618, 619. The same goes for SPY as well. SPY is at a 1.5% gap. So if we pull that stat up for SPY as well, SPY has only filled at 8% of the time. It's happened 13 times. Only one of those has filled. Now, this data point might look pretty low, but again, a gap of this size, especially on SPY, 1.5% down to start the day, rarely happens. Qs, it happens a lot more often. Actually, 3 times as often. This one was 32 as opposed to 13 on SPY. So pretty unlikely that we get a fill to the upside, especially because I keep stating this throughout the day, no scheduled news, none scheduled Tuesday, January 20th. So no news, no reason for us to make a push today. off of the back news. The only thing that we do have that, I think we have the vote today, because it was last Wednesday that they made no opinion on his tariffs. Let me go on Twitter here. Let's see if it pops up. I believe we should have an opinion. It should be at 10 today. I'll look at Walter Bloomberg. It's every 3 days after they don't have an official vote. Just scrolling through Walter Bloomberg on Twitter real quick. Not seeing anything recent. This is all just France and Russia. The reason that we fell is Trump's acquisition of Greenland, or his attempt acquiring Greenland. And the second reason is that the U.S. and European trade war with tariffs and all that jazz that we covered in February of last year, that is back momentarily. So that's the reason for us having such a large drop. France's Macron, not sure what the actual French pronunciation of that is. Him and Trump are going at it. So that's the reason for us having this large of a drop. We were down at 2.2% at the peak on Qs, and then 1.8% this morning. Only reason I know is because the dog woke me up at 4:30 to let him out. So on X, France's Macron competition with the U.S. aims to subordinate Europe is unacceptable. And then Greenland Prime Minister speaking via translator, it is unlikely that there will be a use of military force, but it cannot be ruled out. So those are the two reasons for us having this drop. At first when I saw that Trump wanted to acquire Greenland, I didn't think it was going to be a military matter, but it looks like it's turned out that way over the weekend anyway. So moving forward to what we're expecting for price today. Let me get my background music on here. Moving forward to what we're expecting for price today. No gap fill. We have a 8% chance on SPY, and this is over 3 years. We can even go to 5 years. I don't typically look at the 5-year time frame, but since this is such a rare occurrence, 34, we only filled 4 of those, so 12% on SPY. And Qs is sitting at 13%, 70 gaps down of the size, and only 9 of them have filled. So very unlikely that we get a fill. If we do, we're looking at a 13% and a 12% stat over the past 3 to 5 years, which obviously isn't relevant to what we're trading right now. We want to look at the past 6 months, and in the past 6 months, we have not had a single gap down at the size. Well, Qs has had 1. I don't think SPY has had any. SPY has not had any. SPY's only had 1 gap up at the size. Qs 3 and 1. So pretty unlikely. And then going for the outside bar stat. I'm going to find where there we go. So outside days, we typically go and retest previous day's low or previous day's high. In this case, previous day's low. Once that loads here. That one I think only has like a 60% chance of happening. So also lining that up with the gap fill chance. Very unlikely that we get a move up to that level today, which is 618.89. What I'd expect for the rest of the week, though, is probably something like this, where we slowly trend up and then go and get that gap fill, and then maybe make our way back up to 622. Something I'd also like to add is that typically when we have a holiday that futures are able to be traded, yesterday, for example, that price action usually gets inversed on the following trading day, which would be today. So we trended down for the entire day yesterday. If I go and pull up MNQ, trended down for the entire trading day. We gapped down 1.2%, hung on at 25,400 for a while, and then just trended down. Typically, this gets inverse, this move right here. That's yesterday's trading session. And then this is the overnight one. This is what I'd expect to get inversed. So maybe we have back up to 25,560, 570. Ultimately, just probably going to pitter out for today, especially with no news this large of a move to the downside. There's not much potential for us to move either way. Bitcoin major upgrade. Any news on the Supreme Court today? It could come out today. I'm like an hour and a half back on Walter Bloomberg's Twitter, and he's probably had about 40 tweets in that time frame. Not really sure where else to. Maybe Google will answer it for us. Oops, outside bar didn't want to load there. Also, important update for anyone. What the heck happened? Not let me log in. Huh. Let's try that again. That could be an issue. Here we go. Just a little error. Shoot, I lost my train of thought. Oh, the outside bar. That's what we're looking at. I'll Google the Supreme Court ruling here in a second. So outside bars, 63% chance we reverse back down, 60% chance we reverse back up. So it's not that likely. It's pretty close to 50-50. This one would have us going all the way back up to 618.84, which also lines up with that previous day in London gap. However, I think the overwhelmingly bearish stat for today is going to be this gap fill report that we're going to continue to look at. It's not 100% chance that we just have only had one over the past 6 months. So we'll go and look at Supreme Court tariff ruling, see if we have one today. So it should, we'll wait until 10 today. Probably going to wait that long anyway. U.S. Supreme Court set to release more rulings as Trump tariff decision looms. So we could get it today. Treasury Secretary Bessent says it's very unlikely the Supreme Court will overrule the president, but the legal threat remains, and that is 2 hours ago. So we should be expecting another set of rulings at 10 today. And just as a rule of thumb for everyone, or just a rule to follow, every time that there is a ruling within the Supreme Court or a lack thereof, which is what we've seen the past 3 times on Trump's tariffs, it is 3 business days for them to repeat the ruling or rule over the same matter again. So the last one was Wednesday last week. So then that's Thursday, Friday, no trading on Monday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Today's the 3rd business day. And then the same thing for the previous Friday. No ruling on Friday, Monday, Tuesday, and then the ruling was on the 3rd business day, Wednesday. And they had no opinion on it. So not going to be trading the 10 o'clock candle again today. What we can do is we can monitor what we want to do in terms of London 50. Probably not going to have really anything for price action today. I think we're pretty exhausted both ways. So my guess is that we should be able to trade the IB regardless, but I don't think that we're going to go much outside of what our London range is, 607 to 615. Up 231 so far. Very good. There you go. Very nice. We have some individuals that actually aren't gapped down too bad. The big one is going to be silver and gold right now. Silver and gold are both at the highest they've ever been, all-time highs. Gold is currently sitting at $435, and it's sitting at $4,700 an ounce. Means it might be time to sell my wedding ring. Just kidding. Going pawn it for a new one. And then silver is sitting at 95 an ounce right now, which is crazy that this was all the way down less than 3 months ago. That was at 47. And then less than 3 months before that, I was at 28. Over the past 6 months, silver has gone from 28 all the way up to 95. And funny enough, my wife and I were just talking about this yesterday. One of our wedding presents was a kilogram of silver. Someone got us a brick of silver for our wedding present. It's actually a pretty cool gift. I got to find where it is. It might be time to sell it. I'm not entirely sure what the reasoning behind the silver and gold move. It's not entirely on like war issues or people just being worried about the economy. A big reason that gold's moved up is because with how many GPUs and CPUs and the AI era that we're in right now, there's, I think, like a 1/16 of an ounce used per RAM. Silver has a shortage. That would make sense. For gold, there's no shortage. I know that. It's because of the usage of gold in RAMs and CPUs and GPUs. I believe it's a 1/16 of an ounce. And companies like Avgo, for example, they produce 300, 400,000 chips a quarter. So 1.2 million a year, 1.2 to 1.6 million a year. And that each one of those chips has a 1/16 of an ounce, or about a 1/16 of an ounce of gold in it. And then that's just that company. Who knows how many are in NVIDIA's chips? Who knows how many are in Intel, AMD, Micron, Tesla even. Who knows how much gold is in a Tesla vehicle? So gold is used as a conductor in pretty much every AI chip that there is. That's the reason that this has been perfectly lined up with this AI boom all the way back in February 2024. Obviously, there's the finite amount of gold as well, but this is going to continue increasing just because of how much is used in the process to get gold out of those chips. I don't know if any of you have seen videos on this matter, but it cost more, or I think the profit is maybe 2%. In some cases, it costs more to get the gold out of those CPUs and use PCs and chips and whatever it might be. It costs 98% of what your profit would be. Dipping it in acid and then refining it and then dipping it in acid again. There's gold in all of our PCs, iPhones. You need to keep an eye on copper. Copper is not as big of an issue because it's not as tapped as gold and silver is. Like, there's plenty of copper deposits all over the place, but it's not used in as many components as gold and silver either. There's way more demand for copper than there is coming out of the ground. Also uranium. My two bets are uranium and copper. Uranium has been a big one too. DNN. Oakley's been a big one on this. DNN's up to 370. I wanted to get uranium a little while back. I should have gotten into DNN. I remember Oakley telling me to add this when it was at 50 cents, and that was 4 years ago. Now it's at 361. Him and his massive reserve of DNN. UUU was another one. This is uranium, and then UNC maybe? UAL? No, that's the other uranium stock we were taking a look at, UEC. Well, this one's up at 17 as well. These ones would have been pretty good to add. Nano nuclear, that's another cool one. I don't know how that one works. Is it just NN? Nano nuclear? NNE. So they have nuclear reactors the sizes of suitcases, portable nuclear reactors the sizes of suitcases, which I don't know how those would work, but it's pretty cool. I will say we usually go historically at any time when there's a run on commodities like this, which obviously is different every time. This time may be because of energy and the demand for AI, but like silver, this happened to silver once upon a time. I think it was 13 years ago. Let's see if we can pop it up on here. Yeah, way back here. So 15 years ago now. Silver went all the way up to 49, and when it dropped, there weren't any bids on silver for this drop, so people were unable to liquidate their positions for futures, and everyone just got blown up overnight. That was on the first drop here, and then it just continued dropping, and then there was another event right here where it dropped pretty much the same amount over the course of 2 days, 40 all the way down to 25. So something like this, I would say, is probably coming on silver. But if you guys are enjoying trading it now, which I don't know why you would be, have at it. I own a stock called Southern Copper that is doing well. Its ticker is SCCO of 27. It's 26% in about a month. There you go. Morning, Doms. How you doing? Oh, yes. I am I had a little bit of a slip last night. I'm not very proud of it, but I did tilt slightly. Thankfully, it was just with one MNQ. And it was not pretty last night. Don't want to look at it again. But the only reason that I did not get completely screwed over from it is because I was only doing one MNQ. I peaked at, I think, negative 125. And then luckily got the push back up. And it was just stupid. The whole reason I was going for it was just another $20. Really, $20 to $30. I don't know why. I was up 22. And I was like, yeah, I could just go for a little bit more. And I think this happens to a lot of people with futures as well, because of how easy it is to click the buttons. I was saying just a little bit more. I'll do a long. I was about to head to bed as well. It was just stupid. And then I got stuck in downside. Had I not got that bounce, it would have been a pretty rough. The good news is that I did have a personal loss limit at 25.5. That way, even if I did have a little blow up, I'm not going much further past where the payout is, which is where I'm at right now. A little frustrated with Apex as well because they did not update their platform yesterday. So I can't even see if I qualified for the payout or not. I know I am because of where the accounts are. But their platform, a little disappointed by this, is not updating until today's market close at 5 or 6, wherever it is that they update. And that's because they're not counting yesterday as a trading day. Yesterday's trading day is included with today's price action, which is kind of silly. I don't think there's many other firms that did that. Lucid did it when it was like Christmas into New Year's, when it was a half day on Wednesday, no market on Thursday, and then a half day on Friday as well. And that makes sense because that's 2 half days. It obviously makes a full day, but half day yesterday into a full day today, it doesn't really make sense. They should have just had it count as a trading day, or at least updated the platform. I don't understand as it's 2 separate trading days, really. Yeah, it was a little annoying. I mean, it's technically the same day. It's the same daily candle. I think it would make sense if it was 2 half days that they combine. And yes, I know it's the same daily candle, but on futures, it's 2 different ones. Oh, never mind. Ate my words right there. I guess on futures, it's just a really long daily candle, because this is all of yesterday's price action that went until 1. And it's really not even a half day because you had Glopex at 6 on Sunday all the way until 1 o'clock on Monday. You're only losing 3 hours of the day. Just kind of silly. For the 10K and 100K account, I'll have an update on those today. I know we haven't really been that active on them. I apologize for that, but nothing has changed in terms of what we have to do. We just have to wait, which I know stinks. I don't want to rotate into anything else. We could rotate into uranium, or we could rotate into commodities and then have those cycle down while everything else cycles up, and then that was just be rough. Did I manage to sleep off the mini tilt from Glopex? I did, yeah. I was just saying it. The only reason I survived it is because these were all 1 MNQ trades. And this is the 15-minute time frame. These are not 1-minute candles. I didn't take that many trades over a 1-minute time frame. But it was 9 trades over the course of an hour, which is very, very sloppy on me. And I just tried going for a little bit more at that 25.4 bounce last night, and then it just kept wicking down, wicked right back up, and it was just poor on me. So is what it is. It happens. Slipped up a little bit, but again, just 1 MNQ. Thankfully, if I think even if I was doing like 2 or 3 MNQ per trade, I usually do 2 per Asia. I'm glad that I only did 1 last night. Even if I had done 2, it would have been pretty messy. I think I would have been probably $250, $300 down. But the reason I posted that last night is because I wanted to just really be transparent about it and show it's, even though I'm always saying trade 1 MNQ, trade this way, trade that way, slippage does happen. So let's see. Yeah, posted it pretty late too. Posted it pretty much right after I took those. You're done for the day. 500 P&L. Is that on silver 5 points? Risky. This is what I'm anticipating. These previous day in London gaps, they have a really good chance of filling. I don't know what the confluence on that would be with yesterday being a half day. So the overwhelming stat is the gap fill. We're not trading the first opening candle, first 15-minute opening candle, just going to be watching it. And then at 10 today, we do have a Supreme Court ruling, Trump tariff ruling. Should have a Supreme Court ruling right here. Supreme Court set to release more rulings as Trump tariffs decision loom. So that should be at 10 o'clock today. Did that this morning, made too much. Now I'm over my consistency by 3%. Damn. We have a pretty nasty cold snap today. It took me a while to get the chickens water this morning. It was 7 degrees. It's going to be -10 and -9 and then 2. And the high day is going to be 3 degrees right at noon. That's going to be rough. Oh, man. All right, there's a pretty nice rejection off London 50. Not going to be trading that. Tariff news is at 10 o'clock EST. Yeah, I know they don't announce in advance which cases they're ruling on, but it could still be today. They have all the way until, is it June or July? Which means that we're going to be suffering through this for the next probably 5 months or 6 months if we're unlucky, which is very unfortunate. But I know it's just a bunch of noise and hoopla and whatnot, but they could still have a ruling on it at 10 today. No risking, or no point risking it. What'd Steve say to me? Oh, terrible. Tesla's not down too bad. There you go. And my phone was blowing up. I didn't even look at it. Yeah, err on the side of caution for 10. We don't have anything else today, though, everyone. This is what our market day is looking like for Tuesday, January 20th. No scheduled news. So the only thing we're going to have today is maybe unscheduled speakers. Probably going to have Basent talking at some point today about what happened over the weekend. Usually does damage control that way. And then we'll be looking at 10 o'clock to see what rulings come out. Last time was last Wednesday, sorry. And that was the day that we missed that IB trade. It worked perfectly. Also, see if I can find this on M&Q. Yesterday, for the IB, where's our open here? Where's our 9 o'clock open? Is it delayed by an hour? I think so. Yeah, there's our IB for yesterday. Perfect. 50% retracement. This was at 10:20 on the dot. So this one was a little early on M&Q, but MES yesterday hit it right at perfectly. Couldn't have been any better. Hit it right at 10:30. So 50% retracement. This one was only a 10-point move, so not really that exciting of a move, but still perfect representation of what the IB is supposed to do, what it's meant to look like for the trade. M&Q, this is the one that I took it on with MES hitting that 50% yesterday. Only ended up making $22 on it, $29, something like that. So not terribly exciting, but still a beautiful representation of what it's supposed to trade like. All right, there is a pretty nice continuation. That's a almost $3 opening candle. And then for, what happened to my templates? Oh, they didn't get saved. IB by rejection on Qs for Tuesday. Tuesdays have been pretty rough recently. And this thing does not want to load today. Actually, what am I saying? Tuesdays have been our best days. Thursdays are the ones that have been rough. Tuesdays have been our best days for the IB. This one was a little bit of a looking the wrong one. SPY was a little bit of a sweat last Tuesday. We had news come out regarding Asia and NVDA chips, or China and Asia, China and NVIDIA chips. So it pushed up a little bit more than it should have, but ultimately came and broke the IB low. We got a pretty much 1-to-1 on that. I had the stop set at 718, and I secured at this candle's low right there, not that one. There we go. So I got 0.82 on that. I actually logged it in Frenchie's trade logger, so I can go back and look at that when I want to. But that was one of our better IBs. And then the same thing for the week before, the previous Tuesday, right here, Tuesday, January 6th. Perfect retracement to 50%. Actually went a little bit lower again and then broke it at 12:45. So hopefully we get 3 for 3 on Tuesdays here. Get a nice representation of the strategy again. Morning, Mark. How you doing? So I would like an opinion from everyone in the stream right now. What would you do So I am qualified for Apex. I want to try to bring it up to 20,000 because I know that the payout process is pretty long. So I've been told it takes like 5 to 7 days to get the money, and like 3 trading days that you missed waiting for it to get taken out of your account. So what I'd like to do is trade it up to 27 on the balance, which is another $310, $340 per account. I'd like to trade it up to that and then take 20,000 out. But what would you guys do in this situation? I could take it right now. We'll at close today, and then I think we'd end up missing a couple days. But with this balance in each account, it would be 11,400, I think. So we'll see. Am I looking short? I am not. I'm not looking short. Probably not going to be taking anything. We could take let me scratch that. We could take a small retest of London 50 and then go up. If we close over it, probably not going to take anything prior to 10 though. Stick to your plan. The numbers aren't real. Don't deviate. But yeah, it takes a few days. I usually just secure the payout and trade a few more days. Not much of a difference either way. Well, the reason that I'm contemplating it is because if I take the payout, then the drawdown goes down to 1,000. Right now, it will be easier for me to get up to 27 as opposed to taking it and then trying to push back. I don't think that I would use much of $1,000 in drawdown, but in the event that I do have a couple bad days, take it now. Just go through the Apex experience. You'll get another 10K in a snap. YM rejected the high hard and didn't even make a new high, unlike NQ. Make me add MYM on here. Let's see. I hate that Trade8 does this. Well, they look lined up right now. They're doing somewhat the same thing. I'm not leaving MYM. I'm going to accidentally trade it. Oh, gold just got a nice 23-point opening candle. Just imagining how amazing it would be if you had the same drawdown at 25K as a 50K. You probably won't aim for that, but still. Holy, wick back down. There's that rejection. Max payout is 1,500. Yeah, that would be me going to 27.6. So another $1,000 per account. In that case, better safe than sorry. Slow and steady as you preach. Give yourself the actual mental butter. So once you take 1,500 as a drawdown, stay at 25K or something else. Right now, I can only request down to 26.1. So it's going to leave me with, for example, the first account I can take 560, second one 560, third one 567, 577, 547. So all these added up will end up being like I think 11.4 or 11.6. Which Steve was just telling me this yesterday. Is he in here right now? He's not. I can't believe that Apex lets you keep 100% of your first 25,000 per account. So how do they make money? They just make money on people blowing the accounts, which is crazy. No, there's no profit split. Most have profit split after like your first 10,000. But they're making all that. Literally hundreds. People blow hundreds of Apex accounts because they're so cheap. Eddie said, with all the blown accounts that I've had, you're funding my payout, Eddie? Is that what you're telling me? You realize that most people can't beat the intraday. Wait and keep the 1,500 drawdown, 700 million a month in revenue for Apex. Yeah, I had no idea. Let's see what everybody said. They make their money on accidental renewals and PA fees. People forgetting to renew their account and end up paying $98 a month for 20, and there's no refund. Oof. So they get a $4,000 check from a couple people just on the 50Ks. Yeah, I'll do it. All right, right now, it's dependent on how this candle closes, over or under London 50, but probably going to look for something like this, maybe. It is looking like we should draw towards 615 today, which would also kind of validate that previous day in London gap, that green box that you guys see right here. Not really anything else I'm taking a look at. Bitcoin's getting a decent recovery. MSTR is probably down a whole bunch. Yeah, 6%. Sounds about right. Bull's below 8. Hems is at 30. Everything's in the gutter today. Holy. There is 2 tickers that are green on my watch list, and one of them is Intel. Intel's up 2.5%. That would have been a great ad. Intel and gold, the only 2 tickers green on my watch list. Gold's up 3.5% today. I'm gonna stop hitting my desk, shaking my camera. Good morning, Lonnie. How you doing? So it looks like the verdict, a few people saying run it to the higher payout. Most of you are saying take the payout. All right, close over. Going to be looking for a retest down. I think the safer thing to do would just be wait this candle out as well. Don't really want to get caught in something like what happened last Wednesday, prior to the news, that is. The IB worked perfectly, so we can validate that for Wednesday last week. We can take the IB this time as opposed to avoiding it. That wick down, if you guys remember on Wednesday last week, actually, I was going to say I could go down to the 1 minute. Let me go to replay. Where's the replay button here? Bar replay, there we go. So last Wednesday, go down to the 1 minute time frame here. This wick that we had down to, I think it was last Wednesday, right? The wick that we had down right at 10, that was less than a minute. It was actually just over a minute, sorry. This one, 618 all the way down to 617.28, $1.30 wick that was just over a minute, and then it immediately came back up. That was our IB entry right there. This one, that was because of the tariff news. Obviously, we had no opinion from the Supreme Court that day, but that's the result of that 10 o'clock candle. So don't really want to be partaking in that today prior to the 10 o'clock candle. So for today, what we can do is just could try at London 50. I'd rather just wait. I think we're at London 50 right now on SPY as well. Actually below it. So these two are diverged a little tiny bit. London 50 measure is a little off on SPY. I think you're consistent enough to hold out. I don't want to put, I have the personal loss limit at 25.5 right now. So if I do end up pushing down that low, I'll have to make 100 to get back to where the account should be for the payout. I think I'm going to try to take it at least to 20,000. But if I feel myself slipping, I say that as I slipped a little bit last night, if I feel myself slipping, I should probably just take it. It would be easy to hit the drawdown during AJ. It would. I know we haven't been trading nearly as aggressively as I used to. Like London 50, I probably would just, any other day, months ago, I probably would have just taken that entry. But I will say we've been doing a lot better in terms of taking less trades. So we take a confident trade with the IB trade. And then for Asia session, like the one that I had on Sunday that made me that 210. Pull up MGC. I ended up entering, I think it was at 465 or 464. 4656, that's what it was. So I entered on a pullback on Sunday's open and then capitalized on like a 15-point move. And then took a few shorts on M and Q. But momentum trading, trend trading, which is what my YouTube video is going to be on today, trading trends, which is what I do for Asia. That's been where I've probably made like 70% of the profit on those Apex accounts is just trading momentum on gold for Asia session. So even though we're not taking as many during New York, they are valid setups that we're taking. The IB is a very significant data point that we follow. I know we're not taking as many. It's not as exciting, but I don't think trading's meant to be heart rate increasing type of exciting. I'd rather be sad that I missed out on a trade and potential profit than be slightly depressed that I blew accounts because I entered a trade that I shouldn't have. This is pretty much what I was expecting for price so far. We had this drawn before the stream or before open. This is probably what we're going to get throughout the day. Unless something for Trump's tariffs comes out at 10, which is probably pretty unlikely. Unless we get something at 10, that's what we're going to trade like for the day. But right now we are targeting the IB high. Q's and SPY are lined up. They're diverged ever so slightly. SPY is a little weaker than Q's is, but they should line up for the high being taken. That was just about a 60-point bounce off London 50. And Q's. Not too bad. I'll announce this a couple more times throughout the stream. If you guys are interested in getting edgeful, they are discontinuing the 7-day free trial at the end of this week. I think it's at the end of this week. There will be no more 7-day free trial. So if you guys want to try edgeful out for free, that is, you can get your 7-day free trial. You can cancel before if it's not a fit for you. Cancel before you get rebuild. It's a good bounce off London 50. Coming up on 100 points. See, I'd rather be sad about missing that than having it go the opposite way. Oopsie. TDM Trades, thanks for your videos and Twitter posts. They have brought me back into perspective. I've been a degen gambler and churning accounts. I want 2026 to be different. Thanks again. No problem. No problem. Yeah, gambling and futures does not go well together. I think Frenchie was looking long on that too, wasn't he? All right, we have 7 minutes to go. Probably just going to have no. I mean, we will 100% be able to tell if they have a ruling on it, but probably not going to have anything for today. You're right. I haven't been looking at that. What is our? I bet we probably already made our implied move for the week. Options AI. So our implied move for the week ending January 23rd. 4 o'clock. Hate that they added each 30-minute interval on here. So our implied move for the week is only 1.4%. We've already made the implied move for the week. It's kind of funny. Ooh, that's a thought. Request the payout on 4 accounts and recoup what you spent. Ooh. That's a good one, Bull Nuts. I think I responded to what you just said, Bob, last week, and edgeful actually made a clip of it and posted it on their social media. Where did you look up the implied move? It is Options AI. It's the site name. You can go and look up. It's free. I've used this for probably maybe 3 months now. Well, it's got a bit. It has to have been longer than that. This is where I get the earnings implied moves, implied moves for the week, implied moves for the day, and it is very accurate because it's based on the OI for options, and the big guys usually know where the price is going. So, and you can go and look up completely free. There's no paywall behind this. It's called optionsai.com. You can look up any ticker, and it gives you the implied move for the week. So Tesla for this week, 441 to 412. That's the implied move, 3.3%. And we've already made 2.6% of that implied move. But it gives you a pretty accurate range. And again, it's based off of the options on each contract. So the OI, where big money or where the largest amount of money is sitting, is usually what makes up that implied move. And there's a little bit more that goes behind it, but very useful tool if you guys are interested. It actually gives you the implied move for a month out. I think if you pay for it, you get the implied move for $19 a month. You can go as far as you want. But for free, just check it once a week. It gives you the implied move. It's good enough. All right, first time in your stream, welcome in. Do I look at Dow Jones? I do not. I do not. I was just told that MYM was moving. Oh, it tells you what the tick. I did not know that. That's cool. 50 cents. Let's see if it does that for M&Q too. Nope, never mind. I hate that every time it loads the chart on Tradeovate, it's just a black screen. You got to zoom all the way in. Stinks. All right. Bullish on SPY and Qs are off ever so slightly right now, but definitely bullish on Qs, bullish on SPY as well. This one's just a little weaker. We have more than likely exhausted our move for the day. That's with the overnight move. So don't expect much of a range unless in the next 3 minutes we get that news on Trump's tariffs. And we either go to the moon or we go to the depths for the next 3 months. That's how significant this ruling is. He does have more cards to play, so he can do, I read about this a while back, some kind of executive order mixed with a judicial agreement. he can skip right through the House, so he doesn't have to go through the voting that he had to at the beginning of this year. But then that would kind of put a little bit of turmoil on the 3 branches. So ideally, it doesn't get overruled, but if it does, then we're going to have a rough couple of months. Oh, man. I do kind of like that idea. That would... So if I request the payout on 4 of these accounts and then take copy trade the 4 accounts still, but then the other accounts, I trade those up to X amount. That wouldn't be a bad idea. That way I'd at least recover what my initial investment was. I like it. I was leaning towards taking it a little bit because I want to add those new Lucid accounts. Do you use order flow software? If yes, why? If no, why? I do not use order flow software. I think that's another addition to trading that does work if you just use order flow. So I'm a big believer in keeping everything simple. Same thing for edgeful, right? There's 48 different reports on edgeful that you can go through. You can go through any of these 48 reports. Your trading strategy might line up with the opening candle continuation. Mine might line up with the initial balance breakout or the power hour breakout, whatever it might be. If you go and look at every single one of these reports, you're going to get bogged down. So stick to one thing, refine that, and then just get better at trading that method. Order flow, I think it works for some people. It doesn't work for me. It's one extra thing to have in my chart that would just make me confused. If you use the edgeful data, why are you bullish? Because we already below the previous day's low, so there's an 87% chance previous day's high is not going to get traded to. I don't think we're going to go all the way up to previous day's high, 626, no way. But same thing for Friday, right? Friday we had, Thursday last week we had a 1.6% gap up. We only had a 6% chance of filling that gap to the downside. We were still bearish in the afternoon because of the Fed beige book. Even though that gap did not get filled, this is where the gap level was to, right here. That was the gap from Wednesday into Thursday. There was a 6% chance that that got filled. We trended down for the entire day, did not fill that gap, but we got pretty damn close. So for today, we could trend up. Looks like there's no release on the data, no release on the Supreme Court. This was what I was covering. Sorry, a little sidetrack there. Did not want to partake in that 10 o'clock news candle because of the size of the wick that we just got in. We just had a 90-cent wick in all of 20 seconds right there. Went from 613.54 all the way down, actually a lot bigger than a 90-cent wick. That was just a $1.50 wick in pretty much a minute because of that Supreme Court ruling. Definitely a no ruling, though, or else we would be moving a lot more than this. So we can still anticipate a move to the high. We can still hit both data points without going all the way up to 626.24. So we don't need to worry about that previous day's low or high stat. Yep, always take your investment back as soon as practical. Yeah, depending on how big today is too. Sad thing is with the consistency requirement on Apex, because I made 239 actually yesterday, I can only make like another 100 today, which, I mean, it works out anyway. We don't have that large of an IB range right now. We will be targeting, don't do it, SPY. As long as SPY doesn't go and take a new low, we'll be targeting the high on Qs. Immediately ate my words. So we need Qs to go and take a new low right now. Or we need SPY to go and take a new high. Things are more designed than we think. You can bet your ass people close to Trump admin are advising the judges making the ruling gently or otherwise. I like that. Gently or otherwise. I don't know what you're implying there, Bob. You saying that our Supreme Court officials are getting bribed? We need Qs to go and take a new low. They are countering each other right now. I would say that's not very patriotic of you, Bob, but you're not from the U.S., so it's okay. That might work out here. SPY kind of stopped moving down, but Q is getting dragged down pretty hard. Let him know, Bob. All caps. Walk him down. Patriots for the Super Bowl? Absolutely. That's actually why I'm wearing this right now. A little bit of luck. They had a great game on Sunday. 28-14, 26-14, whatever it was. What, like 6 interceptions? Some crazy. SPY and Qs are lined up, but it's just not. Might be too little, too late for Qs. We could still take the trade on. We could try it on QQQ today. If we were in the UK right now, I'd probably get arrested. They love some mild anti-regime talk. I might still take it on Qs today. It's not really that big of a range. We're looking at it's right at 50% right now. I guess that would be breaking rules, so I probably shouldn't. We're right at 50% right now. 70-point range. It's actually the smallest one we've had for 2 weeks. Last week we had 130 points on Friday. We had 90 points on Thursday, so it wasn't very far off. We had 130 points again on Wednesday. That's the one that we missed. 110 points on Tuesday and 100 points on Monday. And then previous week, same thing. We got pretty close on the previous Wednesday, but very small range right now. Unless SPY can go and take a new high. SPY is actually even smaller than it was when Andre was in the stream with us last Thursday. SPY's range at the moment is 24 points, so a 12-point break on the IB. Let's go Rams. No. I want to cover this real quick while we have time, while we're waiting for a potential IB trade to develop here. We do have another 18 minutes before we can get in that trade anyway. Cover this a little bit. I want to go over it again. If you guys are using edgeful, so again, their 7-day free trial ends this week. So if you want to try them for free, make sure you get in on that. But if you guys are going through edgeful for one of the first times or you're still using it, find 1 or 2 of these reports that work for you. I have 3 that I use. Gap fill by size, inside bars. Gap fill by size isn't really a report that you use for price targets or trading but it just gives you a bias for what you can expect for today. So if I didn't have the gap filled by size and I was trading futures the same way I did like a year ago, I'd probably be trying to get an ultimate reversal trade in and going all the way up for a previous day's gap and just be blatantly long for the entire day. But this tells us that we do not have really any chance. We have a 6% chance of going up to 621, which gives you a good bias for that. And maybe not be bearish, but at the same time, don't be blatantly bullish up to those highs. Inside bar is the next one I use. Obviously, this one we didn't cover today because we were outside of previous day's range. And then the big one, IB by rejection. This is pretty much all I use each day. If you guys are on edgeful, just make sure that you don't go and look through every single one of these reports every day and try to get a trade that way. Go through 1 or 2 or 3 of these reports, and these are added confluences. Now, they do have an algo that will trade for you, and that's based on the opening range breakout or the IB algo. Those ones are both good. But if you guys are using this to trade with, this is an added confluence. This is not something that you wait and look for a trade with. This is something that you add to an already winning method. So if you guys trade power hour, you want to add power hour breakout or the continuation onto what you're trading. You don't want to use it as its own independent measure. I think if Waldai is in here, that should, he is. That's how you'd want to use those edgeful reports, Waldai. Take that back. Made a new low. Q's isn't far off. Needs to go down another $1. Wish I can go and get back those arrows I drew at the beginning of the stream, but I think it was pretty damn close to that right there. So I don't think we're going to break out of that London range today. Pre-market range, I should say. We still have plenty of time for this to go and take a new IB low. Plenty of time. Let's hope it does. 2 weeks in a row for the IB automated algo. There you go. I know you've been using that pretty accurately. Simplify. Love to hear it. I guess I could have removed the live trading part of the title. Or just live watching. No trades yet. How's gold doing? I'm not going to take a trade on that today. We don't touch that during New York, but this one hasn't really done anything since open either. I'm going to include in the video today the 80-20 stats. There's 2 big ones that I use. The 80-20, the big one, 80% of the movement happens outside of market trading hours, meaning the regular trading hours 9:30 to 4. 80% of the movement happens outside of that time frame. 20% of the movement happens inside that time frame. That's why I use the 24-hour chart, so I get access to another 9 hours of data. And then the second one, anytime you're trending, which we don't have a trend right now. If anything, the trend's down with the gap down that we have. 80% of the time price is trending in one direction. It will continue to do so. Only 20% of the time it reverses. So just using those 2 alone will help you a lot. That first one, 80-20 for the market movement. It may not help you in terms of what you're trading, but it does show that, like, hey, we're gap down 1.6% right now. That happened overnight, over the weekend. That gap down, if we only have 20% of that movement happen during actual trading hours, there's a very slim chance that we get a continuation down or up for the day. And that's because we've already exhausted a massive move. We've already exhausted what our buy orders and sell orders are, the big money guys anyway. So far working out well, made a few adjustments with sizing, and Andre updated IB. That was helpful too. Awesome. Correct me if I'm wrong, but IB algo takes trades once the IB is broken. I think it does it off of retracements. I think you can modify it to take it. They might be working on it. You can modify it to take it for the IB break itself. I'm not entirely sure. I don't use it. You can ask a Simplify trader. He uses it. Which pair correlates with YM? Is it the Russell? YM, I believe you can use it with either ES or NQ. You can use it with either ES or NQ. The Russell doesn't pair with YM. YM and the Russell actually usually counter each other. Because this is small caps versus large caps. This one's actually looking pretty good for a long today. The only pair that I use is SPY and MNQ. ES and MNQ. Edgeful IB algo takes the break or a retest up to the levels. There you go. So it takes both, Bob. Thank you, Mark. A lot of patience today. Always. Unfortunately, right now, we don't have a setup. SPY and Qs are countering each other. SPY with the high form first. So actually, I'm pretty happy to see this because this means that one of these is due a loss. And we've been talking about this for a couple weeks now on Tuesday's QQQ IB stat. The low form first, we have an 87% chance of going to break the high first, which this is 15% just about over what the average is, 14% over what the average is. Looking at SPY, I think it's kind of similar, but the IB high getting taken first, this one is a little bit better. This one is in line with what the average is. Qs is significantly over what the average is. If the high was formed first, then that would be fine. Ideally, what would happen today is even though the low formed first on Qs, 610.33, high formed second, we would be targeting the high. I'd like to see this take the low, and the reason being we get a reversion back down to the mean on QQQ for Tuesday. So if we get a loss on this for today, we're probably not going to take it because these two are countering each other. So there's no reason for us to try and predict which one's going to be right, which one's going to be wrong. But this would get us back down to, if we go over to every weekday, so you guys can see what the average win rate for the IB is. 75% is what the average win rate is for the low getting taken first, or the high getting taken first when the IB low firms first. So any given day, there's a 3 in 4 chance that it goes and breaks the high right now. But for Tuesdays, this is just showing us that on a Tuesday, it's on a pretty good, oops, I said the wrong one. For Tuesdays, it shows us that it's on a pretty damn good win streak. And it's overdue a loss. And we can go down to all these data entries. If we just looked at Tuesdays, which is what it's on right now, low form first high broke, low form first high broke, high form first high broke. So this one would have been a loss on the other stat. Low first high, low first high, low first high. Last time that we had a loss on this was 11-4, November 4th. Low form first, low broke first. So that's what I'd like to see today. And that would just make it so next Tuesday we have a better opportunity on both of these stats. Just followed and first time watching the stream. Love your work. Very inspired and keen to try micro trading. Glad to hear. Eddie Kirk. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. So I would like to see the IB lose today on Qs. That would be nice. We're going to try to predict this. This doesn't mean that I'm going to be inversing the data. All of this also means nothing if in the next 13 minutes we go and take a new low, because then we're looking at this left stat here. But I would like to see a reversion to the mean. London 50 is holding, but it's not very strong on the bounces. SPY is getting a little bit of a recovery as well. Gold's not really doing anything. Unless we talk about the IB on gold. So that's it's pretty much right at 50%, but I think it's not Tuesday. Or it's not Wednesday, sorry. So it's not the 50-50-50-50 stat. Gold has a decent chance of going and breaking the high because the low was formed first, right? No, actually the high was formed first and then the low. So gold, almost 50-50, 53.40. It's not really that good of a stat. So I will be looking for the IB low to get broken, even though the low formed first. Hopefully we get a reversion. And then we can have a very confident setup for next Tuesday. I think this would help pretty significantly with the little tilt that I suffered last night. That'd be a good way to end the day. So total profit from today, if you guys are on Apex, is included with yesterday, sadly. So if you guys are trading based off consistency, whatever you made yesterday, they also count it, or they add it to today's profit. So yesterday I made 239. They'll add the 7, so I technically made 246 for today's trading session, even though I only made $7 today. Just joined the call. What's the stat for today? Unfortunately, SPY and Qs are pointing in opposite directions. SPY is targeting the downside. It's got a 63% chance of doing so on the IB. 63.6 chance. Sorry, 80% chance. This was if the IB lows formed first. 80% chance that we go and break the low. Qs, 87% chance we go and break the high, but that is 13% over what the average is. So Qs has been overdue a loss on a Tuesday for a while. So if this ends up going and breaking the low, not at all upset about that. And what's even better is that we could avoid the loss on it by not taking the trade because SPY and Qs are not lined up. This gets a nice reversion back down to what the average should be for the win rate. And then next Tuesday, we get a really nice trade. I think you're right. SPY and YM are moving the exact same. RTY is not correlated with very much. The reason I say that is because IWM, small caps typically inverse what large caps do. So IWM not going to do what the S&P does because this is made up of completely different assets. SPY and Qs usually correlate hand in hand because they're made up of like 70% of the same asset. SPY does have that 30% that sometimes makes it vary in price quite a bit. But small issue with Qs today, if it does end up going and breaking the IB high first, then this is going to push the stat all the way up to like 90, 91, 92% maybe, which means that we would definitely be anticipating a loss in a coming Tuesday. Or if they both line up with each other right now, then we can take the IB high and everything's all hunky-dory. We need SPY to go up another 50 cents, and then they line up with each other, and we can take the retracement back down to 50%. This needs to happen over the next 7 minutes. IWM with a perfect retest. What time frame was that? 1 minute. 10:21, 2 minutes before that little front run stat. We'll see. These Supreme Court opinion days are pain. They're very much a pain. SPY only needs to push up another 30 cents, and that takes out a new high, and we target the IB high break. I'll opt to take it on SPY today. Obviously, we need the retracement as well. Can't just take it at the high break. Very, very close. Talking about barcode, though. Look at the 5 minute. This is an exhausted move. Yes. Yes, this is what I was referring to. Doesn't mean that we're not going to move today. It just means that the likelihood that we have a continuation of what priced it overnight, in terms of the size, we're not going to have a 1.5% reversal back up because we've already made a very significant move to the downside. Ooh, it's right there. The IB high is 2 cents away from getting taken. Just got a new IB high on SPY. So they are lined up. Now we can look for a retracement back down to 50. And then go for the high, both on SPY and Qs. I'd prefer to take it on SPY today. I think that one would be a little bit better. SPY is sitting at gold's also about to go and take its IB low. Just made a new IB low. So SPY's IB, we're going to be looking at, if it doesn't get the retracement, get off my screen. Remove. If it doesn't get the retracement, then there's nothing for us to take. Unfortunately, we'll just watch it go. But we need it to retrace back down to 6878. And the implied break is 12 points up or down. 24-point range, $60 break. But we need the retracement. Qs is actually looking pretty weak now. A little weaker than SPY. SPY is still making a new IB high. You were right, Rafshan. SPY will create a new high, strong reversal. Still going too, and Qs isn't really keeping up with it. Well, it is a little bit now. Kind of happy to see this IB almost line up with London 50. SPY's range is now up to, should be about 26 points. Didn't really make that big of a continuation, but not bad. So 6894, 14 points is what our break is going to be. A little bit under 14 points. $70 break. At least they're lined up now. That's good. IWM's looking pretty damn good for the IB as well. That would have been a nice long. Qs hasn't changed the bias at all from open. This one never made a new IB low. We're continuing to target an IB high on that. But we need a retracement back down. Give me 25,469. Whew. That's a little, I think that's a little much to ask for. That's a ways up there. 1,100 of you guys tuning into the stream right now. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the support. It is, but I think we want to take age as highs. Might as well grab that fair value gap in the process of doing it. That long that I took last night on gold. Should pull up on here. Make it look a little better. The long that I took last night on gold was 5 minutes before we had that consolidation break. I secured the 25. It did inverse right back down, but that accumulation finally broke and it just took off. That was too early for the longs. I would have gotten stopped out by maybe 2 points. That was a little too early on it as well. Minute 20 on the IB. I don't think we're gonna. I can't say don't. I don't think that we're gonna happen, but we've seen it plenty of times where it goes and closes a couple cents below the IB, comes all the way back down to 50%. This one is lined up perfectly with London 50, so this would be as A+ as it gets on SPY for us to get a pullback. We just need the pullback to actually happen. Please. Please. SPY had us going there for a little bit. Had us going there for a minute. Your chart seems to be delayed. Oh, yeah, I don't have anything connected. I usually just look at gold. We don't trade gold during New York, so I don't have anything connected to it anyway. But I was just looking at MGC because of the move from last night of showing the longs that we had. So I didn't want to trade it during the accumulation, but it looked so good getting back down to that range bottom. Tried it and just got out too early. So sad. But the trend was definitely up, and boy, oh boy, woke up at 4 a.m. to let the dog out, and that thing was up 70 points from last night. Crazy. All right. Now everyone needs to blow on their screen together so SPY can go down. Same with Qs. We do not want to see the IB break quite yet. I will. So if it happens to break, oh man. If it happens to break right here on Qs, I'm going to be sure to update on edgeful so you guys can see what I'm talking about. I think it should take a couple of minutes. If this ends up breaking the IB high, the stat's going to go up to 90 to 91%. Now, that doesn't mean that next Tuesday it's going to be a 91 to 92% break or chance that we have the high break first. SPY broke its IB high. No. Still have Qs. Qs is still in play. SPY is already done, though. SPY just broke it by a penny. You guys can see that little tiny wick. Little teeny tiny wick. It's broken. I think Qs just broke it too, didn't it? Oh, man. Not yet. Qs hasn't changed its IB since that first 10-minute move, first 20-minute move, sorry. That retracement was a mere 10 points. So the IB break would have been 19 had we taken it on that wick. Not really worth it. There's the IB high taken. Son of a gun. No retracement from 1023. Happened at 1021. It was too early. Same with SPY too. SPY, we wouldn't have taken this early anyway because it didn't form a new IB high until 1028. Not really much we can do on that. For the continuation, let's see if this refreshes yet. This should go up to like 91, maybe 92. Well, this is definitely going to be overdue a loss on a Tuesday coming up here. Where is, okay, IB by levels. And we're going to go to a Tuesday for the continuation. We won't include the range. Actually, let's see what the IB size is. I will include the range, make it as accurate as possible. So the IB is 0.53. Don't need to edit anything there. We're looking for breakout days. What the heck? The second time that's happened today. IB by levels for a breakout day, not a breakdown since we broke to the upside. And we want it for a Tuesday. I hate going and selecting all these days. I need to get my template set back up. No retracement. You son of a gun. All right, so we've only had one Tuesday where it's continued, and we have a 3 in 4 chance of going up to half standard deviation, which would put us at, funny enough, just into that previous day in London gap. So we had a good bias going into open. That was validated at least. Just no retracement for us to get into the IB, sadly. So if we go up to half a standard deviation, that puts us into that previous day in London gap, which once we're in that gap, we have no resistance up to 618.82. And then going over to Tradevate as well, once we can get over 25,437, which should be lined up with London High. London High is right about 412, so a little bit over London High. Once we get into that gap, we don't have any resistance on the way up. Kind of stinks though, no IB trade today. No retracement. If it doesn't, I'm slamming longs on Wednesday. Break even now. I'm risk free. There you go. Technically, you're risking 50 cents, KP. You lied. It's not break even. Can't do anything else but bang on his keyboard. What time frame is that? 1 minute? 3 minute? 5 minute. All right, well, another boring day. We don't have Andre in the stream to blame, but guess who we do have in the stream, everyone? Bob is present, as always. You had a key bind that just flattened my position. At least it was flattened in profit, right? Did gold also go and take its IB low? It did. It did. Actually, hang on a minute here. Gold would have worked out for the IB trade today. Retraced to 50%. That would have been a 9-point break. Nope, terrible math there. That's a 14-point break to the IB from the 50%. Just about hit 50% too. But, I mean, that one's not really that good of a stat on gold for the IB by rejection. There's a 54% chance it went to the low. I think I've done that once before with the hotkeys. Bob said I was feeling so good with bad luck Andre taking the monkey off my back, but I'm back to the resonant IB by IB bad luck charm. Maybe IB stands for invalidated by Bob. I'm gonna make sure to send that clip over to. I'll tell Andre and Sabine to make a clip for that. All right. Well, I got nothing. Do still have another 23 minutes on stream, so we'll see what happens with the IB by levels. 615.09 would be a price target that I would have for right now. That's just below half standard deviation, but that would line up with where we're anticipating a move up to. There's that lunch stat that I shared with you. Don't make me take more trades, man. All right, I'll go to the IB for lunchtime. Let's see. What was the name of the stat, or did you just change the time frame on it? Waiting on gold to hit IB low, then retrace for entry short today. It's pretty close. That would have been, I mean, another reason I wouldn't like taking it on gold. You take an entry at 41, 42. It's a 140 point stop on one contract. And it moves quick. But it's not really that high of a percent chance it goes to the low. Even though it is going to go take the low, it's just not a very valid setup. But if NQ wants a very simple, anyone wants a very simple, high probability NQ trade for PM session, the lunchbox is a great way. Mark out the high and low of the 12 to 1 p.m. range and wait for price to sweep either side of the range. Target the midpoint after it sweeps. Okay. Let's go and review it for Friday. So it's saying that on Friday, you mark out the 12 to 1 range. So there's your 12 to 1. Swept the high. And then you target the 50%. So what's your stop loss on this then? One to one. You think you would have gotten stopped out on Friday though? As your range is right here. So here's your 1 o'clock range. So if you do 1 to 1, you would have just barely stayed in. But also, do you take this? Do you take the entry up on the candle sweep? You think wicks are included? Yeah, I include the wick. That's the range right there, 50%. And then your entry would be on the way down. So you enter on this candle's wick and then you target 50%, which it did hit. So your entry would be like that. Stop loss would have been pretty close to getting hit, 1 to 1, but looks like it worked. Okay, I'll watch it for today. I'll give it a look. I think we're going to get a continuation up to 6:15 today, 6:15:15. Gold's being a little dinky. It happened right at 12:59 on Friday. It swept the low right as it went from 12:59 to 1. You would have taken a low sweep and longed to the halfway midpoint. Yeah, it was an example on Twitter. So I looked at it wrong. The sweep happened at, okay. So that was the sweep right there, and then you long it to 50%. I see. Well, let's do it for, let's take a look at Wednesday. 12 o'clock down to 1. Sweep happened again, looks like. Can't tell though, because then that 1 o'clock candle also looks like that's the low that formed. I guess it did. It worked on Thursday. Doesn't look like it worked on Wednesday. I mean, if it does work, you're trading for pennies. So that's the entire range right there. What do you do on that candle? You want to target the high break, swept the low, and then you enter long, target 50%. Okay. Yeah, I'll look into it for today. I'll add that in. Even a negative RR, depending on win rate, might work well. 1 to 0.8. Size up appropriately. You risk 100 to make 100. You're doing off stream. I'm probably not going to end up taking the trade. I'll just watch it, though. I will more than likely be done for today. So this will be my profit for today. I might take one trade, and we'll see. No gold during New York for me, so no trades on that. But if I don't know, I'm up in the air on taking the payout today. I got to think about it. It's $11,400. And then I will use some of those funds to go and get the Apex, not Apex, go and get the Lucid Black accounts that they just came out with, because I do like those accounts. And then maybe a few other. I do kind of want to cycle through the Tradeify accounts I have and go get some of the Flex accounts for the daily payouts. So even if it's a couple $100 you request a day, then that's fine. Over 5 accounts, you can make it like 1,000 a day with like 2 to 4 in queue, and then just not take trades some days. But we shall see. We are really not moving all that. Flex is better. Flex on Tradeify or Lucid row. Thanks, Devin. Black is garbage. I haven't looked at the reason I liked the black accounts, Lucid Black, is because of the doubling of the payout. So if you hit, it doesn't look good at first glance. You have to hit 1250 and then you only get 750 for a payout. But if you hit 2500, then you can get a $1,500 payout. I'm not really worried about the 3 days. What I do like is that it's essentially the same as the pro accounts, but the lack of buffer that you need, and you can take the accounts up to 2,500, which is where I took my 25Ks up to last time with them. You can take a $1,500 payout per account, so $7,500 payout on a 25K account is pretty nuts. I would anticipate probably a little retrace down, and then I do think we're going to get up to 615 London high, and then maybe sweep a little bit into that previous day in London gap. Gold will not be touching today, but the house edge is higher on the black. I guess I haven't really looked that deep into them. Man, I really like the Lucid Pro accounts, though. Lucid Test Pros. Those ones are incredible. The buffer I don't really care about, because it's kind of self-assigned. If you guys take a payout too early with either Top Step or Lucid, really any account that doesn't require a buffer, then you kind of screw yourself for the second payout. And then especially with Top Step, if you say you churn through too many accounts, they put you in that focus trader plan and you kind of never get your money back. Faster payouts is better than more payouts. That's another reason I want to get back with Lucid too. Not necessarily the faster versus more payouts, but like Apex, I think it's going to take, with all the messages that I've gotten about the payout on Apex, it looks like it's going to take about 3 to 5 days for me to get this. And that's like 3 days of no trading on these accounts as well. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully it's a little faster. But if I take the payout today, for instance, I probably won't be able to trade until Thursday or Friday this week on these accounts again. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. As soon as you prove it, you can trade on it. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, man, I can't decide. I kind of want to take it after that little slip I had last night. That was not good. I was being stupid. Oh, we'll see. Yeah, I know, but I just got so much more comfortable when seeing it over 1,500. I think I'd be fine with the. Yeah, I gotta think. I don't know. Oh, I like that tab. I like it. Market Robert, what's going on? Did you take anything? IB remains goated. IB does remain goated today, but no entry because there was no pullback. The best possible entry for today would have been 19 points on Qs and 1.5 points on SPY. SPY actually took it at like 10:31 almost. So very, very fast in that break. It was a pretty good retracement on it right now. There's the 50% mark on gold. Oh, man. The main thing that I'm thinking about right now, Steve, is that $50 correlates to another 1,000 per payout, or 1,000 on top of the payout. But these just look so pretty sitting at 26.70. Man. One in 5 minute 200 EMA looks like it wants to stack right at that 50% retracement. Is that on gold, Rob, or is it on something else? If it holds, it does bounce. Does the bounce you're looking for? Oh, the IB's already done for today on SPY and Qs. I just have those lines drawn in from where I was hoping to get that retracement down to. But no luck. Leo joined the My Funded Futures team. He did just for Tuesdays. With the way you're trading, it makes sense to create a buffer. That way you can size up. I'm never going to size up more. Like if I had sized up last night, I probably would have gone into today with a terrible mental state and could have blown like half the profits I made. That's a good one, KP. Zinc is a 1M and Q queen. Or is it 1M? Zinc is a 1M and queen. 1M and Q queen. No, I wouldn't increase to 2. I do typically trade 2 during Asia because the moves are a little bit slower. But there's not much of a reason to increase. If you think about it from a number standpoint, Sean, it's 100% increase for me going from 1 to 2. 2 to 3 MES. That would make more sense. But even 2 MES is okay for the IB. Like for today, it would have been 14 points. That would have been $140 on 2 MES, $70 per. Pushing up to 3 MES. The reason I also like staying with 1 is because it's 1-to-1 risk reward in the first entry, but if it does dip down a little bit, like we have been on Tuesdays, if it dips down a little bit, then we enter and target a little bit higher of a risk reward in the second trade. If you start your trade off with 2M and Q or 2 MES, then you're kind of locked in with a higher risk. 140, and then you go and enter another one, then your risk is now 200, and then you enter another one, and your risk is 350, 300. Top step, I just looked for making the buffer whatever the required passing profit was. That mentally worked. Zinc, why don't you just stick to US IB trades? I found Asia kills me mentally. I've been doing really well with Asia. That's why I've been trading it. I do put them out in the Discord, and I think we've had, I want to say, 1 loss over the past 2 weeks during Asia session, maybe 2 losses. You guys can validate in the Discord call. I don't know if the momentum during Asia trading, mainly Globex, doesn't even have to be Asia. So I'm not trading this. I don't trade the Asia IB. I don't trade accumulation. I tried along at I did make 22 or 25 off that. It was 22 with fees last night. But for the most part, I've been capitalizing on the 6 o'clock open and then wait for the first 30 minutes or so. That gives you the momentum or the trend. And then you wait for a pullback and get in with the trend. And I've only been risking 5 points, so $50 on gold. It's 1 MGC contract, or I get in with 1 MNQ and risk 20 points, or I get in with 2 MNQ and risk 10 points. And the only reason that I'm able to risk that little during Asia session is because it moves so slow. That's a pretty good retracement into the IB right there. Gold's stuck right at 50%. But what if you have a buffer that can afford it? It's going to take you a while to build it, Sean, with a buffer that you can afford. So right now on Trade-Evate, my buffer is just over 1,500, but it's been 1,500 for the entire time. I would have to get this closer to 2,500 to start taking 2 MES or 2 MNQ or 3 MES. Because the buffer doesn't change until you start. Like right now, the buffer is technically, what, 2% higher than it was for the entire time I've been trading this account. So it doesn't make sense for me to size up now, because then it's just as likely that I go right back into a drawdown period. First half hour of Globex or Asia? I'm going to have that in the video today, Alan, but it's the first half hour of Globex. So if we go over to MGC, you guys are getting a little preview to the video I'm going to have. The MGC open, well, open for anything is at 6 o'clock. So if I wait until 6 and we see these first 3 candles, so here's the 6 o'clock open right here. This is a 15-point candle with the wicks. And then you follow that with a 7-point candle, and then you follow it with a 6-point candle. I'm not looking to immediately short that. What I want, and what I always do with these trades, is I slap that 50% on there. And it's kind of crazy how well it works on any trading time frame that you're looking at. Look at where it rejected after that momentum was formed. So those have been my entries for Asia trades. This will help you, KP, as well. Looks like accidentally getting out of my position made me money. Is it making sense to you guys now why I get the trades during Asia when I do? Does that always happen on gold? It doesn't always happen, but that's where my entries are. That's why I target entries. It doesn't have to be a 50% retracement on the dot. Like last night, or Sunday night, we obviously didn't retrace. We didn't even go remotely close to where this retracement was. So the reason I entered this one a little bit early, it's a little tricky to see here on the 5-minute. Maybe that will make it a little bit better. So the 5-minute, I got in on this little tiny red candle right here. It was at my entry last night, Sunday night, was 4656. So I look for the momentum, and this is important to note for gold. Anytime you have, if it's just a regular old trading session and there's no momentum formed and it's going sideways, like this period of time, anytime you have like a 10-point candle on the 15-minute time frame, gold will typically reverse that move. And that's if it's an accumulation. If gold is in an expansion phase, which is what it was doing early this morning, obviously I'm not up at 1 or 4 in the morning to trade this, unless I'm letting the dog out. A 50-point candle is not going to get retraced. You're not going to have any entry for this. So I did chase this one up a little bit, and it ended up paying out. Anytime you have a move like this, I've seen that it typically gravitates towards those psych levels, which is every 100 points on gold. That's the same thing that we did on KP, if you remember this one, the same one that we had on Thursday night, I think. Thursday or Wednesday last week when I was targeting 4,600. So this is a prime example of what I usually look for during Asia. Now that you're back, Eddie. This is the opening move right here, 6 o'clock down. And this is why I always text you that, KP, because you always say like 540. You're like, what are we doing for Asia? I don't know yet because we got to see the momentum. Look for the momentum and then fight every urge that you have to chase that move. Look for it to retrace back up. And I always slap the 50% on there. And if I'm on Trade-Evate, then just put the fib with the 50 on there. So I look for the 50% retracement, and then I look to join in on the trend. And you don't have to have a price. This was actually the trade right here, KP. I was looking for 4,600. It was on Wednesday last week. So our entry, if you guys recall, was about 46.12, 46.14, somewhere in that range. And then my stop loss is 5 points. I almost always put 5 points for a stop loss on there. And this one, I think we ended up getting $60, 55 or 60. And then I ended up missing like another 40 points to the downside. So I always slap a 5-point stop on it. That's the mechanical approach to it. But that's how I've been trading Asia. And that answers your question, Simon, why do I not just stick to the US IB trades? The success that I've been getting from Asia is coming from trading gold's momentum. And the same thing goes for MNQ as well. MNQ, you go to Asia. I guess that's a bad example. I'll just go on this chart and you guys can all see my little blow up last night. This is your trend right here. So MNQ, it's a little more difficult because it makes 40-point ranges for the pullbacks. Those ones are a little trickier to time. But if you go over to MGC, MGC doesn't usually pull back more than 5 to 10 points. And that's exactly what it did last night. So this was my entry. I ended up getting out of that trade early because it didn't form a wick on the top of that candle, on the top of the 5-minute green. So I wanted it to come back down, and it went a lot further down than I expected. But that's the momentum that you're looking to trade. And what you can do instead of fighting the trend on gold, which I know a lot of people do with futures, instead of fighting the trend on gold and looking for a short, look for a red candle or a wick down to go long on. So this morning, good example, none of these candles had wicks on the bottom of them. I don't know how valid it is during 1 to 3 o'clock in the morning because I never trade that time. But your entry, you're not going to enter on any of these because they're just pushing straight up. You're going to look for a red candle, and this red candle doesn't mean time to short it. This red candle means, okay, this is finally my entry for a long, especially with a close over a psych level like 4,700. So I would have entered long on that candle as close to 4,700 as I could. So it's closed. Let's say I was goaded for this trade and I got a perfect entry at the low of that 4,701. My stop loss is 5 points on the dot. So 4,696.2. That's my stop loss, 5 points. And then my take profit is, you can have it at 5 points, you can have it 10. I usually secure them stupid early, so I never capitalize on the whole move. But this one was a 5-point risk for a 20-point reward that would have happened in all of 15 minutes from your entry, 25 minutes maybe. So that's how I trade the trend during Asia session. And you don't need to be super intelligent with where your entries are. You don't need to have a whole bunch of confluences lining up. Just simplify it down to, okay, this is the momentum that is being traded for gold during Asia. I need to get a red candle to enter on, or a pullback, or you're avoiding this trend to the upside. And you are sure as hell not reversing this move. You're not inverting what this trend is. You're not going to be like, okay, no way in hell gold's going higher. I'm going to continue to short it right now. That's how you're going to blow your accounts. You're waiting for this to pull back. 15-minute candles only? Yes. Yeah. I don't really ever go to the 5-minute time frame. So that's how I trade gold during Asia. And I think, let me go through the futures chat here real quick. I think we've had 2 losses over the past 2 weeks on it doing this. Last night we had 118. So Sunday night we had a $30 loss, $50 loss, sorry, and it peaked at $30 green too. So I could have secured it. The sad thing about the one that happened on Sunday was it immediately ended up popping. I think I took that entry at 4672. I got stopped on this wick, and then it ended up running 15 points to the upside. So that's the downside, is the stop might be a little too tight, but that's in essence what the strategy I do for Globex. Great example again. Tuesday, we took this one as well. So 15-point opening candle, slapped a 50% on there. First 30 minutes, damn near got the full 50%. We took a long here. Stop loss was 5 points. And this one ended up running like crazy. I, of course, only ended up getting $60, maybe $70 in this trade. But if that's your trade to start each day, and then you're going into the following day with a green mindset, and that's worth more than just the small trade that you took. What time is the video coming out today? We'll see. I need to work on it. It'll probably be, I don't know. I'm not going to put a time frame on it. Maybe 4 o'clock today, 3 o'clock. I got to record it and edit it. On TradingView, under settings, trading, enable project orders for market orders, and it will appear like Project X. Thank you, Al. What are your 4 indicators? I only use one of them. It's the edgeful indicator. Comes with the initial balance. I have volume on. I don't really use volume. The one that I have at the top is T-Trade's fractal model, and then the bottom one is the IB by levels. That's for expansion. I only use the one, the IB. All right, guys, that will do it for the stream today. We did go a little bit over there, but 1,400 people in today. That's awesome. 1,400 of you guys. You guys enjoyed. Thank you for the support, as always. But I will see you guys later. Have a great rest of your day.